What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So I'm talking to my dog Melvin, and I realized he never seen the movie Life. Y'all know the movie Life starring Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy that came out in 1999. I remember going to the show to go watch that movie with my mama, my sister, my godmother, my godbrothers, and my sister's best friend, right? We went to go see this movie, and I remember laughing all through the movie, thinking it was just so comical because at that point I was a fan of the Nutty Professor movies. And I also was a fan of, I think only one Nutty Professor had come out at that point, right? Dr. Doolittle maybe had came out at that point too. And I was a big fan of the Martin Show, right? And so seeing them on camera going back and forth was just like, what the hell? It was kind of like probably how people would imagine seeing two big movie stars, especially the black stars that our community was infatuated with. Seeing Martin Lawrence on screen with Will Smith was crazy, right? Seeing Martin Lawrence on screen with Eddie Murphy is crazy. You know what I mean? Because you just figure, damn, you would never think they would be in the same movie together. Even as a child, I recognized this, right? And so because they were at the height of the comedy world. So I remember watching this movie and just laughing all through and through and just quoting certain scenes from the movie and how iconic the movie is. And I've watched the movie several times throughout my life. Not just that one time when I was a kid. I watched it several times. But I watched it again because my homie Melvin told me he never watched the movie. And I'm looking like, man, I'm going to watch Life. And as you get older, you realize just how sad this movie is. And I always got sad at the part where, Ray and Claude are in jail and the people are disappearing and stuff like that. That always made me sad when I originally saw the movie because I recognized what was happening to these people as a child. But just the whole storyline is just completely sad. As an adult, it just got comedy sprinkled into it. So spoiler alert, if you ain't never seen Life, cut this video off and go watch the movie, right? But if you've seen the movie, I'm going to talk to y'all right now about the movie. Spoiler alert. So, Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, they play these characters, Ray Gibson and Claude Banks. They end up working together on some bootlegging type stuff, right? They end up working together and all of that type of stuff. I forgot what was the reason why. No, Eddie Murphy character is like a thief, and then he picks, he tried to pick the pocket, then he end up picking his pocket and end up getting in cahoots together, right? Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence character end up being in cahoots with each other. They get framed for a murder that they did not commit by the man who actually committed the murder himself. They get life in prison. Now, at the time, Martin Lawrence character, he has a woman. He's a successful, I think is he a banker? Is he a banker? I'm trying to think, what was his job or occupation at the time? I believe he was starting a new job at the bank or something like that soon. He had a beautiful woman, and Eddie Murphy character is out here being a bootlegger. He out here trying to get his hustle on. They get life in prison. Again, they're wrongfully in prison for a murder they did not commit. I'm stuttering and shit. But anyway, so while they in jail, they are subjected to all these inhumane practices, and they still trying to figure out a way to smile through all the pain and recognizing that life is passing them by. Eventually, Martin Lawrence's girlfriend, she ends up leaving him for his cousin. His cousin Melvin, that's Melvin, my homeboy name too. His cousin Melvin was a lawyer, and he's supposed to be the lawyer working on his case. His girlfriend ends up being with his cousin Melvin. And while they're in jail, they trying to make the time go by with like jokes and playing baseball with each other and all this type of stuff. But the reality still sets in. They're stuck in jail, right? And the years are going by. They're getting older and older, and people around them that they've grown fond of in jail, people that they've established bonds with, they're dying. They're dying and dying and dying. And Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy's character at one point get into it with each other because they attempted to run away one time in jail. They attempted to escape. They get caught. And Martin is just so frustrated with his life. He like, yo, I had a good life before I met you, man. Like, he feel like the day he met him was the worst day of his life. Like, yo, I met you and everything just went upside down. Now I don't have a life anymore. My life is in jail. And they get into it with each other. And Eddie Murphy like, yo, I ain't mean for none of this to happen. We never did nothing wrong. We in jail not because something I did, but we ain't never do nothing wrong. They end up having a blowout. They don't speak for years. During the time, they get older and older and older. And it make you think about people who have been wrongfully in prison. So many black men who have been wrongfully in prison over the years, right? And they sitting in jail. And a lot of them end up dying in jail, especially during the time that this movie is set in. This movie is set in what? The 1930s, right? It starts in the 1930s. Ain't no DNA evidence to clear no man or no murder or no fingerprinting type stuff. That ain't going on at that time. The forensics are not advanced to get them off. And even if it is, what other chances are they gonna get the black man off and commit a white man and convict a white man? Especially a white man who is a sheriff. Because the dude who actually killed the person that Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence character are accused of killing, the dude who killed that man was the sheriff. And the sheriff himself framed Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. So it's like, what is the likelihood that they ever were going to get out, or people were ever going to believe them during that time period? They're stuck. And they realize there's no way out of the situation. They try to hang on to hope. Yo, my cousin Melvin, he's a lawyer, he's a lawyer, he's a lawyer. But during that time period, getting your lawyer to get you out of jail for murder of a black man is nearly impossible. That's like saying a person can fly. That's like saying you was going to have a black president in that time period. That shit was never, ever going to happen. And so you see the turmoil in the desperation and how they start losing hope on their face. And again, I think about so many people who've been wrongfully murdered. I told y'all when I went to go get my link card. This is when I first got out of grad school. I wasn't working. Link card is an EBT card, right? And so in order to do that, you have to do a work program to like show that you're actively trying to be employed. At the time, I was waiting on a job opportunity. I eventually got the job opportunity, but I wasn't going to start the job until a month later. So I was still going to the classes to get the EBT card and the benefits. In that class, I meet a man named Troshawn McCoy, right? He was a part of this group called the Marquette Four. Was it? Yeah, Marquette Four. They were all wrongfully accused of committing murders that they never committed. Troshawn McCoy spent 18 years of his life in jail, 17 or 18 years of his life in jail for a murder he did not commit. In jail, he went in as a teenage boy. He ended up, and he goes into it briefly, having to commit to in order to survive, you have to become a brute. He ended up, I believe he told us, fighting a knife case in jail because you have to become a brute in there. You have to become a brute, or else you're going to, either you're going to eat or get ate. And so he wasn't a person that was going to get ate or become a victim in jail or to anything, or anybody trying to strong arm him in anything. And so he fought back, and he ended up, I think he said he had like a knife case or something like that, I believe, right? And so, but he was basically telling about it. And I don't know what the particulars of the situation was with the knife case, but either way how it went down, the man was in jail in a place where men are enraged. Some of the men are wrongfully accused, some of them are rightfully accused, and they've done the crime. And regardless of what it is, it's just a war zone in jail. And he had to adapt to his environment, right? And so I think about all the men they had to go through these situations and stuff they didn't do, and with crimes they did not commit. Mr. Troshawn McCoy was in class with us, and he was released from prison about I want to say maybe 6 months before. Yeah, no, like eight months before we were in that program. Right. And I end up looking up his case and looking all into it because I knew his name. I looked up into it on Google and all of that. And there's a video of him walking out of jail, and they're asking him, what was it like to be in jail? And I'm looking like, what the fuck was it like? What do you mean? And he said it was hell. Hell every day. You in jail, your reputation is getting smeared. People thinking you committed a murder that you did not do. Your mama believe you. Luckily, his mother was still alive when he got out of jail after them years, because some people's mamas pass away. I can imagine in this movie, Ray and Claude, they mamas and fathers been gone a long time ago. The people that they love most been gone. In the movie, they end up getting released on like a work release program when they're old men, right? And it's a scene where Martin sees young folks living vibrantly and thriving and have radios and new technology, and he's driving around a person that he's supposed to be. He's living at a superintendent's mansion. And they doing yard work for him and all that type of stuff. Ray and Claude, that's Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence characters. But he's riding them around in his car, and he's touching his face, and he saw himself in the mirror, and he's like, I'm an old man. My life is gone. My life is gone. My life is gone. Everything that I could have had, all the joys I could have had is gone because I've been in jail for 60-something years. No, they were in jail for like 40 something years. I'm sorry, it was like 40 something years they were in jail, right? And now they're old men. And they actually escaped. And after the basically what happens is the superintendent finds out that Ray and Claude were innocent, and right before he's about to pardon them, he dies. Right, the superintendent ends up dying. They get sent to some like old home or whatever, and they end up hashing a plan to leave the old home. And once they leave, they end up attending like a Yankees game in New York together. And now they are probably about 80 years old, and they're having a moment of joy and triumph because now they can enjoy the freedoms of the world, but at what cost? All the pain, the suffering, the tragedy that they had to go through, being wrongfully accused of a murder. They witnessed friends around them in jail die. They had to hatch a plan to even become free, and now they probably only got a few years of life left. So it's a really, really sad movie, man. Great movie and comical, but sad as hell, and a sad story for many black folks.